Hello, konnichiwa, yoboseyo. I'm Pao, and this channel will be my brief take on all the available manga, anime, manhwa, etc. out there. So let's kick it off by talking about Solo Leveling and if it's worth the read. Before I go any further, I'll let you know that I've just finished reading it and it's good. It's really bloody good. I mean, I was staying up till 4 a.m., waking up at 7 to continue reading it. It's that kind of good. In fact, I'll say that Solo Leveling is probably in my top 3 favorite manhwas I've ever read. And yeah, possibly also my top 3 isekai. So let's start by looking into it. And the first thing to know is that Solo Leveling is Korean. With all the madness of 2020, one of the rare positives is that Korean webtoons, manhwa, and animation are becoming more popular. And with Tower of God being animated, there will definitely be a spotlight on Korean stuff in future. If you're going to start looking into Korean manhwa, Solo Leveling is one of the best manhwa I've ever read, and therefore I would say it's the perfect place for you to start. As with many anime and comics, Solo Leveling is based on a light novel. The webtoon just finished season 1 and 110 chapters, and it kind of falls under the isekai genre. The main idea behind an isekai is the main character dies and gets reincarnated in either a video game kind of world or a fantasy style world, and usually they've, gained some unique powers. The main character tends to view themselves as a loser before they died, but after being reincarnated, with these new powers, they have a new lease on life. The reason why I say Solo Leveling is kinda an isekai is because Jin, our main character, doesn't actually die, and he doesn't change worlds, but there is sort of reincarnation and loads of fantasy elements. So I'll put it in the isekai genre. I'm a fan of isekai. I'm a big fan of isekai, but a common issue I have is that the main characters tend to keep their awkward personalities even though they've been reincarnated. If you read a few isekai, you know exactly what I mean. Thankfully, there are a lot of isekai that don't fall under this trap, and I'm happy to say Solo Leveling does not disappoint. Story. The story takes place in modern Korea, but 10 years before the story starts, a portal appeared in the sky, and people across the globe gained the typical RPG powers. Some can control the elements, like Avatar, and others become weapon experts, like John Wick. Actually, a terrible comparison, but let's run with it. Those that fight monsters in dungeons are called hunters. Most hunters are ranked between A and E rank, with an extraordinary S rank that stands far above the others. The S rank are kind of like the 1%ers, or maybe 0.1%. Basically, they're the billionaires. And what does S rank actually stand for? Like all these years playing Street Fighter, I've always wondered that. Is it a super or special? But anyway, they're called S ranks. If a dungeon boss is not defeated within 7 days, the monsters can exit the portals and start to wreak havoc on the human world. Jin, our main character, is a hunter, but he's known as the weakest E rank. Therefore, he's the weakest of the weak. People, other characters use it as a term of endearment in the beginning, but really they're just making fun of him for being super weak. After Jin appears to die, in probably the best isekai death scene of all time, he's resurrected with unlimited potential for growth. As the story develops, you actually start to forget how weak he used to be, and as his confidence starts to grow, your confidence in him grows. It really has some good pacing. You're always wondering, how will he stack up against others, and how will he use each new ability? Beyond character development, there's also world building, and I love me world building. It's like Game of Thrones, like each new city, each new clan. Anyway, back to the story. The main story takes place in Korea, as I mentioned, but the portals affect the whole world. Hunter rankings are used to represent the country's strength, and we get to see how Korea stacks up against other superpowers and the relationships between the countries. We also get to revisit characters we met in the beginning and see how they've been developing in the background while we follow the main character. To be honest, many isekais fail at this, but I'm happy to say Solo Leveling does it really well. It's also a breath of fresh air not to have a simp of a main character. Like, why did you forgive the girl who tried to kill you several times? Tower of God, I'm talking to you, and I'll be discussing that in another video. I really like Jin as a main character. He has what I like to call common sense, and there are actual consequences to his actions, or consequences to his lack of actions. It may sound basic, but recently, a lot of isekai just seem to throw this out the window. I also like that Solo Leveling doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not a comedy, but there are some real light-hearted moments. And this especially comes out later in the story with some of Jin's allies. My recommendation is that you read the first 10 chapters. If you don't enjoy them, you probably won't enjoy the rest of the series. But if you're a fan of world building, action-packed fights, and strong characters, I think you find Solo Leveling to be a real gem. When the new season comes out, I'll be reading it again from the beginning, and I can't wait to see it animated. So yeah, this is my first video. If you like it, give it the old thumbs up, and tell a friend and all that good stuff. But yeah, thanks for watching.